Hey everyone, and welcome back to another deep dive. We're getting close to wrapping up 2024.
It's flying by.
It really is. But before we all get too relaxed and start thinking about the holidays, we need to talk about something that's going to hit us all next year. Taxes. Specifically, what's changing for the 2025 tax year?
Taxes. Can't avoid them. But hey, the good news is we can definitely get ahead of the game, and that's why we're doing this deep dive today. Knowing what's coming down the pipeline can really make all the difference when you're trying to, plan your finances for next year.
Exactly. So let's not waste any time. Let's dive right in. I think one of the biggest things on everyone's minds, always, is inflation. Seems like it's playing a big part in these tax changes too, right?
You're absolutely right. Inflation is the big elephant in the room. It's impacting everything. And the IRS, they know that, so they make adjustments to the tax system to try and keep things fair. One of the main things they do is adjust those tax brackets.
Tax brackets. Okay, for anyone who's like, wait, what are those again? Can you give us a quick breakdown?
Sure. Think of tax brackets like different levels of income, right? And each level has a different tax rate. As you earn more, you might move into a higher bracket and pay a little more in taxes.
Makes sense. So how do these brackets help with inflation?
Well, let's say your income stays pretty much the same from year to year, but that sneaky inflation is making everything more expensive. You're essentially able to buy less with the same amount of money, right?
Yeah, it's a frustrating part.
Exactly. So these tax bracket adjustments, they help prevent you from getting pushed into a higher tax bracket just because of inflation. You don't want to be paying more in taxes if your purchasing power is actually going down.
Right, you'd be getting hit twice. So how much does someone's income actually have to go up before they need to worry about jumping into a higher bracket?
Okay, so for 2025, the magic number is 2.8%. Basically, if your income goes up by more than 2.8%, then yeah, you might find yourself in a higher tax bracket. But if it's less than that, you're good.
Okay, 2.8%. Good to keep in mind. So we've talked about tax brackets, but there's also this thing called the standard deduction, right? That's changing too, isn't it?
It is. And this is good news for a lot of folks. The standard deduction is basically a set amount that you can subtract from your income before you calculate your taxes.
So a bigger deduction means less taxable income, which could mean lower taxes overall, right?
You got it. Now, for 2025, the standard deduction is going up to $15,000 for single filers and $30,000 for married couples filing jointly. That's a decent jump.
Definitely something to celebrate. But speaking of deductions, there's this other thing that always kind of makes my head spin. The AMT, the alternative minimum tax. I feel like a lot of people just hear AMT and their eyes glaze over.
Yeah.
What is it? And is it changing for 2025?
Yes, the AMT. I know it can sound a little scary, but in simple terms, it's basically a separate tax system that's meant to make sure that people with higher incomes, even if they have lots of deductions, still pay a certain minimum amount of tax.
Okay, so it's like a safety net for the tax system.
You could say that. Now, the good news here is that the AMT exemption threshold, which is basically the income level where the AMT might start to kick in, that's also going up in 2025.
So fewer people will have to worry about the AMT.
Exactly. Again, it's all about trying to keep things fair, especially with inflation pushing incomes up.
Makes sense. Okay, so we've covered some pretty big ground here. Inflation, tax brackets, standard deductions, and even the AMT. But let's switch gears a little and talk about something everyone's thinking about, especially as we get older, retirement. I know there are some changes coming to 401k contributions in 2025. What can you tell us about those?
Good news on that front. The contribution limit for 401k plans is going up to $22,500 in 2025. So if you're looking to save more for retirement, this is a great opportunity.
That's awesome. Every little bit helps when it comes to retirement savings.
Absolutely. And don't underestimate the power of compounding over time. Even a small increase in your contributions can make a big difference down the road.
True. But I've also heard that IRA contribution limits are staying the same. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. IRA contribution limits are staying put for 2025.
So 401k limits are going up, but IRA limits aren't. It seems a little, uneven.
I get what you're saying. It would be nice to see those IRA limits go up too, but there is a silver lining here, especially for folks who are getting closer to retirement.
Oh, really? Tell me more.
So for people who are between the ages of 60 and 63, there's a special catch-up contribution limit for IRAs. And in 2025, that limit is getting a pretty significant bump up to $11,250.
Wow. That's a big jump. Yeah. So someone in that age range could potentially contribute over $33,000 to their IRA in 2025.
That's right. It's a fantastic opportunity for people who are in those later stages of their careers to really boost their retirement savings.
Okay, that's good to know. It sounds like there's a lot to think about when it comes to planning for retirement in 2025.
Definitely. It's always a good idea to talk to a financial advisor to see what strategies make the most sense for your individual situation.
Solid advice. Now, before we wrap up, I have to ask, what about healthcare plans? Are there any major changes coming up on that front?
Well, as of right now, we don't have all the specifics on healthcare plan rules and contribution limits for 2025. Things are still being finalized.
So we're kind of in a holding pattern for now.
Yeah, pretty much. But it's something to definitely keep an eye on, do your research and be ready for some potential changes.
Good advice. So let's do a quick recap for everyone. The big takeaways for the 2025 tax year. Inflation's playing a big role, driving adjustments to tax brackets and the standard deduction. We've got good news for 401k savers, with those contribution limits going up, and an even bigger boost for those who are 60 to 63 with those catch-up contributions. And of course, we need to stay tuned for updates on healthcare plan rules.
You got it.
Sounds like proactive planning is key.
Absolutely. Don't wait until the last minute. Start thinking about these changes now and see how they might fit into your overall financial picture.
Great point. And as always, if you're feeling a little overwhelmed, talking to a financial advisor can be a huge help. They can help you personalize your strategy based on your specific goals and needs.
Definitely. Don't be afraid to reach out for some expert guidance.
Solid advice. And before we sign off, here's a final thought for everyone to ponder. We've been talking a lot about the nuts and bolts of these tax changes, but I think it's important to step back and think about the bigger picture. Could these changes actually be a good thing? Could they be a nudge for us to reevaluate our financial goals, maybe rethink our savings plans, or explore different retirement options? Food for thought.
I like that. Sometimes change, even when it comes to taxes, can be a good opportunity to reassess and make sure we're on the right track.
Absolutely. All right, everyone, that's a wrap on this deep dive into the 2025 tax changes. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
We'll see you next time for another deep dive into, well, who knows what exciting topics await. Until then, stay informed and stay savvy.
Stay curious.
See you later.
Bye.